very much. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Schultz, welcome. As you know, the Forest Service plays a critical role in wildfire response, not just programs to prevent or mitigate the impact of fires, but to respond to them when they happen. However, under the current administration, we've seen a dangerous reduction in the capabilities and capacity of the Forest Service to respond to wildfires. Through both the Deferred Resignation Program and the Voluntary Early Retirement Authority, the Forest Service has lost more than 5,000 employees, about 1,400 of whom had red cards, and knew the significance of red cards. So I'm concerned that this represents a significant reduction in capability and capacity and poses a serious danger to communities, not just in California, elsewhere in the West and across the country. These staffing reductions, coupled with the president diverting National Guard units in California to mean that those resources are no longer available to support our wildfire response capacity. It's not just irresponsible, it's dangerous. That's me talking. I want to hear from you. Chief, I know that since the reductions, the agency has invited those who resigned to restatus themselves for fire season. Can you share with the committee how many have actually taken the agency up on the offer to restatus?
Senator, thank you for the question. So just to kind of restate again, in terms of resources, we're basically at 99% of capacity of our firefighting resources in terms of our GS9 and below firefighters. So we have had no degradation.
Is that funding or staffing levels?
It's staffing levels. Yes, sir. And there's been no impact on the funding either on that.
So how have you offset the more than 1,500 staff?
Okay,
reduction?
so we're talking two different things. So we had people that took DRP. The DRP was, firefighters were not eligible for DRP. We had non-firefighting personnel that had red cards, like you said, that were about 1,400 that did.
So you're saying there's no reduction in the red cards?
No, what I'm saying is that the firefighters that are classified as firefighters were not eligible for DRP, so none of them took DRP. We had other staff that were non-fire personnel that do have red cards, and we had, like you mentioned, we had about, I think we had 4,000 took DRP and another 1,000 that retired outside of DRP, and there was about 1,400 that did have red cards. So those are the folks that you're referring to. We don't have numbers yet. They've just been kind of coming back on in the last couple of weeks, and as we get those numbers, we can get them to you, but we have reached out, as you indicated, to those 1,400 and allowed for them to come back, and not just allow, but encourage them to come back. We have a process for them to come back and support us this year through the end of September.
Yeah, well, I'm going to eagerly await those numbers and regular reports and updates because red cards are significant. Even those that are not firefighters serving critical roles that support the firefighting activity. So I'm going to be looking for that data and those further assurances and commitment on your part because we're just now entering peak fire season in California and throughout the West. I want to get back to the topic of partnerships. You've mentioned it earlier in the hearing. I know Senator Barrasso emphasized this earlier in the hearing. The Forest Service's state and private forestry programs, including state fire assistance, the volunteer fire assistance, and the broader state, private, and tribal forestry initiatives provide crucial financial and technical support to state and local fire departments for wildfire prevention, as well as detection and suppression. These programs are essential for building and maximizing the capacity in fire-adapted communities and ensuring the safety of first responders during wildfires. What is the status of FY25 funding for these programs? Are you aware? And I guess alongside with that, what's your confidence level in getting the funding out by the August 15th deadline?
Sure. Thank you, sir. So, Senator, the fiscal year 25, we're still working with OMB on that request. So we're looking to finalize that here probably within the next couple of weeks.
Look, that worries me. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yes.
The deadline to get this out is August 15th. We're a month out, and you're still finalizing the numbers?
So Q4 numbers for 25 are still being finalized for some of those programs. Yes, sir.
That should be a big red flag for all of us. Let me make one other important point as my time is running out. From past fires in California, including Santa Rosa, years ago, Los Angeles more recently, these are the types of programs that we should be supporting. I asked you about the FY25 numbers. Do you know what the FY26 numbers? My understanding is the president's proposed budget zeroes out this program. How does that make any sense?
So Senator, I think what the intent of that program in 26 is to transfer that responsibility to the states. That's the intent of that, and that giving the states some heads up that that's coming.
Look, as every state that I'm aware of is having a tougher budget picture to face. The threat of fires is real. The threat of fires is growing. How does it make sense for the federal government to zero out these programs that you said are so critical?
Sir, we would still be partnering with the states in dialogue and discussions, but the transfer.
But you're zeroing out the resources. How does that make any sense?
That's correct. Well, it's sharing that responsibility and pushing that to the states.
You're pushing it to the states that have less resources to work with. How does that make any sense?
In a sense, it makes sense because it's putting that responsibility on the states to make those decisions locally.
Look, it may be residents of California or Utah or other states in between. These are all Americans. Communities in the United States of America that are at increased risk because of the actions of this administration, which contradict the supposed goals and objectives. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator